Dear friend, Jayant, actually we are discussing about the working of the institution from the class 9 lesson from the civics lesson number 5, chapter number 5. In part 1 video, we already discussed about memorandum of the BP Mandal Commission, this letter, and about this parliament, and we discussed about Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Okay, here we are going to discuss political executive. The president. The president I already discussed. The parliament consists of president, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So, in political executive, the president, the prime minister and his council of ministers. The president, the prime minister and his council of ministers and the civil servants form the executive because they are executing what law formulated, they are executing that law or implementing. Okay, so the president, the prime minister and his council of ministers and the civil servant from the executive are coming under this political executive. The political executive consists of political leader elected by the people who act on their behalf and are responsible to the public who elected them. Because here political leaders are there and the peoples are electing this political leader and they are working on behalf of the people. So power with whom? Power with the people. Okay? So in a democracy, peoples are giving their power to this political leader to work on behalf of them. So they take all the decisions, understand the overall picture. So to whom we elected, they are taking all the decisions by understanding the problem of the people. Because at last they have to work for the people. And you know very well, democracy is by the people, for the people and of the people. So the second category is called permanent executive. So this political executive in the second category is called your permanent executive. And the permanent executive consists of civil servant. They help to political executive carrying out the day-to-day work. They are expert but do not take the final decision. Who is taking final decision? Final decision taken by this elected member, elected representative, because at last they are the people's representative. So indirectly peoples are taking the decision. But this permanent executive, they are government servant. They are by writing exam through UPSC, many exams are there, state level exams are there, and after selected they join. So fixed tenure fixed by the government, okay, up to 60 years, 65 years, they have to work and they are expert in their field. So they are not taking final decision, they are only implementing the decision. So Prime Minister has three kinds of minister to fulfill. So Prime Minister alone cannot do all the work. Okay. So three types of ministers are there, like cabinet ministers, minister of state, and deputy ministers. So cabinet ministers powerful, you know, home ministry, defense ministry, defense law, all these are the those ministry whose portfolio is more powerful, like foreign ministry, finance. These are appointed by the cabinet ministers and minister of states and deputy minister. Deputy minister for the helping and minister of state and some independent. So they are working for some like small scale industries and all this MSME ministry, all these are handled by this Minister of Tax. Then the Prime Minister position is supreme because prime means the Prime Minister position is supreme. He chooses his cabinet and his decision is final. So Prime Minister, he chooses his team members because the leader team choosing his team member. Okay, if I want to work, I need this team. My team must be like that. So the Prime Minister position is supreme. He chooses his cabinet and his decision is final, except in a coalition government where he has listened to other party members. Because in a coalition government, all the members are not from their party. Because in coalition government, if a political party not got full majority, then they are taking the help of other small parties to form the government. So then they have to listen about this other small parties. Otherwise, if they will say we are going to withdraw our support, then government may be going to be almost. Okay? Then when the Prime Minister quit, the entire ministry quit. So when Prime Minister quit from his post, Prime Minister when quit from his post as Prime Minister, if he resigned from his post and given letter to the President and President accepted, then the entire ministry quit because the Prime Minister not there. How this minister? Because this team of this ministers are selected by whom? Prime Minister. And when Prime Minister not there, how this minister? So they must have to quit. So this is the real problem, or is the real head of our country. So now we are going to discuss our nominal head of our country. So you know very well the country in our constitution. It is we are the democracy with a republic. The republic means when the head of the country elected by the people directly or indirectly. So in our case, our head of the country, President of India. So our country, President is the head of the country. So he is elected by indirectly. But if you compare to UK, they have democracy, but they have monarchy system. So their head of the country from king or queen, that is hereditary. But in our country, we don't know next time who is our president. Okay? So the president is the nominal head in India. So he is the nominal head. But real head is your prime minister. He is not directly elected by the people as at USA. So in USA it is a democracy, but it is a presidential form of government. And in our country we have parliamentarian form of government. In our country, the election of president is a very complicated process. So here I already discussed our president elected indirectly by our member of parliament and our MLAs. Okay. So in our country around 4,000 MLAs are there, and in our Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha member of parliaments are there. They are electing our president. So the president's election is indirect election. Okay, and he is the nominal head. And why I said this is a very complicated process? Because this every MP's value is not same. This voting value, every MP's or every MLA they do not same. This is calculated according to the population of the state and according to the population density. Okay. So all the members of the parliament and members of the state legislature elect him. Since the since he is elected indirectly, because people directly not electing, but remember in USA people directly electing the president. Okay, so he does not have the same power as prime minister. So for that reason he is the nominal head of our country, not the real head. Real head is our prime minister, because this member of parliament or this prime minister, this Lok Sabha members elected by the people, and now the president exercise all his legislative. So here what happened, these MPs are electing their leader, because MPs are elected by the people and the peoples are choosing their leader. So who is that? That is prime minister. So prime minister is here more powerful. Okay, so the president exercise all his legislative, executive, financial, judicial, military power only on the advice of the prime minister and his council of minister. So all this work done by this president, signature of the president required, but by the advice of the prime minister and council of minister only. So the president exercise all his legislative power and executive, financial, judicial and military power, and he is the head of all these three group: naval, army and the air force. So the president exercises all his legislative, executive, financial, judicial, military power only on the advice of prime minister and his council of minister. Okay. So the president can only delay if the parliament passes it, he has to sign. So president any bill sent to the for the signature of the president. So president can delay and president can suggest some advice, but parliament not interested to do any changes in that bill, then president must have to sign, because he can say okay, reconsider this bill or anything. But if parliament told no, okay, this bill is okay, then president have to sign. So he has to sign. So president has the power to appoint the leaders when there is a coalition on his own discretion. That is one power with the president. If no party got full majority, then he may call leader of those party whose highest member are elected, means number of the member high. Okay, so who's in parliament, which party member number high, more MPs are from which party. So president called to leader of those party. And when coalition government are sometimes, president using his power and giving opportunity to party, maybe that is some party in second position or third position, and he is saying that okay, in 6 months or in 10 days or 30 days, but that must be for 6 months only. So you have to prove that you have full majorities, and sometimes there is a clashes between the other party and all these things. Then that matter is going to the Supreme Court, and what Supreme Court decided regarding this, if this is for 10 days or 12 days or 50 days or 1 month, in how many days they have to prove because you know very well, Supreme Court also play a vital role in democracy, because I already discussed four pillar of democracy: your legislative, executive, judiciary, and media or mass communication or journalism. And you know very well, judiciary is the guardian of your constitution. So the judiciary, India has one of the most powerful judiciary. So in our country, compared to other country, our judiciary is most powerful. And this judiciary has independence of both the executive and legislature. So our judiciary is independent from both executive and from legislature. And the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is appointed by the President. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is appointed by the President on the advice of the Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers. Not only that, this outgoing Chief Justice who is going to retire, so before retire, so he is going to recommend the name of new Chief Justice to Law Department, and this Law Department, after scrutiny and all these things, then after discussion with the Cabinet Ministry, Prime Minister, then that is going to for the signature of your President. So the other judges of the Supreme Court and the state high courts are appointed in the same way but on the advice of the Chief Justice. So this is your collegium system. So senior most five judges are there sitting, including your Supreme Court Chief Justice. So they are deciding for the Chief Justice, transfer of the Chief Justice of states, or appointment of the Chief Justice of the states, or High Court judges, they are known as puisne judges. Okay. So all these appointments are done by your President, but by the first given by this all these things given by your collegium system, and this collegium system. So this is your collegium system. So this collegium system going to recommend the name of this High Court Chief Justice, puisne judges, then for the Supreme Court, appointment of the Supreme Court judges, then that is discussed in Law Ministry, then Cabinet Ministry, then after that Prime Minister, they are going to recommend these names. Okay. So High Courts appointed the same way but on the advice of the Chief Justice. So after that President's signature, and that must be with President's and signature countersign of the President. Okay. So once appointed, the judges can be removed only by the impeachment. So these all are constitutional bodies, and you know very well, judiciary is independent from the legislature and executive. If they are not given this opportunity, impeachment, then anytime Prime Minister not interested to remove, if he is against this Prime Minister or against those government, then they can remove the High Court Judge, Chief Justice, and all these things. So for that reason our constitution written so beautifully. Okay. So check and balance. Here we are checking the power. Okay, your power this much, you have to use this. Once you elected, then you cannot do anything. That is like your Bhasmasur. And what is the Bhasmasur stories? Here, Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva told Bhasmasur, okay, you go and to whom you will touch, whose head you will keep your head, your hand, then he will convert you to us, and that us they will bring for. Then Bhasmasur told that okay, I am going to try on you only. Are you getting my point? So like that, here once you power given, you cannot do anything. Okay, but there is an option also there. That is called impeachment. Okay, then if two-third member of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha decided to impeach that person, means remove from his post, then they have to start this process. And this is a lengthy process, that is not only okay, one day, today started, tomorrow completed, and third day. This is a lengthy process. So for that reason, in our Indian history, no judges impeached. Once it is tried, but it is also not successful, before that he retired. Okay? So the judiciary is custodian of the constitution, and the Supreme Court and High Courts have the power to interpret the constitution. So judiciary has the power as is the custodian. So if any other constitution, if parliament, all the people are not doing work according to our constitution, and you have to know that in our country or any, if you study about the French Revolution or Russian Revolution and about the German, Nazi, everywhere fighting. Today also, if you know about the farmers' wills and all these things, always fighting between two group of people. One is those people who have the right, and those who don't have the right. So this is a fighting between two group of people. And in my opinion, when to whom you have to afraid, you have to afraid who are the ruling party, because everything's machinery and all these things. So for that reason I told that opposition play a vital role. Opposing, friction required. So here we have our constitution. So Supreme Court. Otherwise, this ruling party become more powerful and they will work according to their choice. Then it is for injuries. So for that reason, Supreme Court is there. The guardian of the constitution is there. And not only that, we have fundamental right. And you know very well, our fundamental right is enforced by the law. If your fundamental right violated, then you can directly approach to the Supreme Court or High Court. This is a Brahmastra. This is a powerful weapon given to us. That is only our right. That is only we are feeling that we are in a democracy country where our fundamental right violating, we can directly approach to the Supreme Court or High Court. So this is the beauty of our democracy and about our constitution. So it can declare any law passes the legislature as invalid if it violates the constitution. If that law is not according to our constitution, then it can declare any law passes by the legislature as invalid if it violated the constitution. If that law is not according to the constitution, because we have constitutions of basic structure like secular, socialist, democratic, republic. If any law passed by our parliament, if it is not according to our constitution, then Supreme Court have right to declare that law as invalid or void or no. And it safeguards the fundamental rights of the people of India and checks malpractice and misuse of the power of the executive or legislature. When these executive peoples doing some malpractices and misusing their power, okay, power with a police force with a, and all these things, they are misusing their power, then court is there, judiciary is there. You can approach to the judiciary. At last, we are believing in judiciary. This is the here, no rich, no poor, every people are there. So in 10th class you have to study and all these things. how for the poor people there is a facilities of your district legal service authority, and how government is helping those people who are unable to uh, pay the amount of or money to advocate. All these things we are going to discuss. So this is beauty of our country, about our democracy, and Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.